Howdy, Exiles. How y'all doing today? I'm excited to bring you guys my Burning Arrow Elementalist build. We finished it last night. I want to say a big thank you to my brother who helped me on the final touches of the build. And it honestly it turned out a lot better than I thought it would. Uh, for those who are watching, there are timestamps in the video. If you don't want to watch the intro, you can just go ahead and skip through some of the other sections that are more relevant to you, and you can figure out if you would like to use this build in the future. Now that that's out of the way, there is a bit of a caveat here. Burning Arrow was reworked, right? They said it was too complex of a level 1 skill, so the ignite has been reduced. It now does added fire damage against ignited enemies. The stacking burning effect is gone. It now deals 150% base, 201 to 302 fire damage at level 20, and so it's going to be interesting to see, right? The build we have right now is based off of the existing unchanged Burning Arrow, because we don't have any of the gym info in the path of building. I said that they weren't probably going to get that until the day of or the day after the launch of the league, of the Scourge League. So we're a little bit up in the air, and I just want to be forthcoming and upfront with y'all. This is what I want to run, and I'm willing to take the risk. Obviously, I'll keep you guys updated on the POB, on whether or not this is going to be something that's going to be viable. But I won't know until we get the gym info from the POB. As it stands right now, the build is really nice, really wonderful, and losing the burning effect is not a huge deal. But it doesn't mention in the patch notes whether it's removing the 88% more ignite damage. If it loses that, we might be in trouble. I just don't know yet. So, but regardless of all that, I am excited to bring this to you guys. This build has amazing clear speed, like amazing screen wide clearing. It is beautiful. It has pretty solid single target damage, but I will be honest, I don't think it's going to be the best, which is fine considering the type of league that we're currently getting into. We have pretty decent survivability. Our biggest defenses is that we're ranged, right? We have about 6.5k health, pretty decent regen, probably somewhere in the range of 4 to 600, somewhere around there. It's an amazing league starter. I would say that it's not SSF viable at the moment because we are using a few uniques, one being Zoph's Nurture, and a very particular belt that gives us a ton of resist, a ton of life. It's a really solid belt, and that's kind of where the gear's at. The gearing is very flexible. We don't need a ton of accuracy because we are taking resolute technique, and for the most part, the build is very rounded out. I think its biggest problem is going to be managing the strength and dexterity that you will 100% need for this build. And that's probably going to be the biggest struggle for anyone doing this build, including myself. But it is overcomable. And the good news about the uniques is that they're very cheap. I mean, they are dirt cheap. So you can pick these up and you're headed into maps. You're already geared up for endgame. You're ready to go. So let's get into the meat and the bones. All right, so let's take a look at the skills. We're going to be running Burning Arrow with burning damage, deadly ailments, elemental damage with attacks, swift affliction, and immolate. I think all these are going to be fine, even with the change to Burning Arrow. And then, of course, you would drop. I am probably going to drop, I would say, probably burning damage for greater multiple projectiles and or deadly ailments. I'm still working out like which one I'm willing to lose and which one I'm not willing to lose. But either one of those, it should be fine. Anything that's not a boss, you're gonna be like just melting everything, right? So it's not a huge deal which one you pick, but when you're doing maps, I would recommend greater multiple projectiles. That takes our damage to here. Let's take off deadly ailments. That takes our damage from 2.7 down to like 1.9 ish, give or take. So it's still, you're still running around maps doing a pretty fair amount of damage, I would say. So that's Burning Arrow. Then we're running 3 auras. Herald of Ash for the burning damage, Herald of Purity for the 5th scaling, Malevolence for DOT with a level 2 Enlighten. It probably should be level 3, to be honest. I don't even know why it was level 2. And we'll see in the passive tree why we have a little bit more mana than we should. Originally, we only had like 140 reserved or unreserved mana. And it was honestly, I have a feeling the build is going to have just a bit of a mana problem. So we're going to address that when we get to the passive tree. We're running Arcanist Brand, Wave of Conviction, and Combustion to get us that extra negative fire damage. Since we are an Ignite build, we do not benefit from Elemental Penetration, but we do benefit a great deal from negative resistance. So Combustion, huge, must-have, alongside Wave of Conviction. And then we're running Cast when damage taken, Steel Skin, very low level. We want it to proc a lot. Flame Dash with Arcane Surge, and we have Flammability on one of our rings. I think this skill setup kind of works. I have it fleshed out. I think it works really well. Obviously, we don't have anything in our body armor because we are running a Combs. Is it Combs Heart? Yeah, Combs Heart. Looking at the gear, it's all very generic at this point. Zoph's Nurture, Combs Heart, Diadem Dawn Belt. These are all fairly cheap. The Combs Heart probably is going to be your most expensive one. For the bow, we're looking at fire damage over time, added fire damage, looking for attack speed, increased LE damage with attacks. For our helmet, we're looking for resist, max life, armor, all that good stuff. Forget the accuracy rating. It doesn't need to be there. You can put literally any stat that you see fit. Mana regen plus mana. Mana on hit is always nice. And it's the same theme throughout the rest of the gear. We're looking at life, max res, or not max res, max life, res, armor, and like I said, forget about the accuracy rating. By the time this gets posted, I will re-edit these and I will add in what I think is necessary. But for the purpose, I didn't have time to do that, unfortunately. Psychic skills have negative 15 to mana, total mana on the 2-tone boots. Pretty nice. I went with 2-tone boots because I want it to be easier to get blue sockets since we're running Flame Dash in our boots. Armor, max life, res, movement speed, obviously, ideally 30%. All of these rare pieces are not rolled super well. So what the stats that you're seeing on the left-hand side of the screen can definitely be bumped up a little bit. This is all like very basic, just run-of-the-mill gear that you're gonna acquire, craft, or buy from the trade. Opal rings. I went double opal rings. Added strength and dex. This is very, very, very important. This build, because you know we start out as witch, we're not going to have access to a lot of dex. We're going to have access to enough strength, but not nearly enough dex. And as a matter of fact, like the strength roll on this ring, I don't even think needs to be there. But the dex, you need to find as much dex as you can anywhere you can find it, right? And if you need to dump some resist, that's fine. As you can see, we're way overdue on fire and cold. If you want to grab some extra chaos, I implore you to do so because it's never a bad thing to have extra chaos. We have our our amulet, which is just the same thing we've been talking about before. Increased elemental damage with attacks, added fire damage, scales super well since we have 100% fire damage conversion from fist to fire. That's going to scale super nice with all the fire damage nodes that we took. And of course, forget about the accuracy. We have Comb's Heart, 500 max life, no sockets, 30 more fire damage. And then the belt. The belt is really nice. The belt gives max life, fire, cold. We're not going to be able to take advantage of chilled enemies, unfortunately. But we do deal damage faster with ignites. And I think this belt really just synergizes super well with the rest of the pieces, with the overall idea of the build. As far as flats goes, you can go Cinder. Cinder would not be a bad choice, I think, as we all know. But that is probably going to be very expensive, especially at the beginning of the league, and it's certainly not SSF viable in any way, shape, or form. But if you do want it, that's one that I would recommend. Other than that, very typical life, mana, couple of utility, and a Cinder Swallow. Even though that counts as utility as well. And that's our gear setup. Very straightforward. We don't have a ton of armor. We don't have a ton of evasion or energy shield for that matter. And so we're really going to rely on our movement. We're going to rely on being quick. And we're going to rely on the fact that we're ranged. And at a certain point, like you throw out a volley, I mean, it's just going to die, right? Because we're getting level 20 Ignite Pro Lift from Zoffs, right? So it may look like it doesn't have a lot, but I am confident that it will do the job just fine. Now, let's go to our passive tree. So we are starting out at the Witch. We're going to pick up the mana nodes. Now, I haven't set... This is just the full in-game tree right here, and this can even be like upgraded to some degree, maybe with some better cluster jewels. But for the most part, it's pretty well fleshed out. And then when I get a chance to, I will make sure that there is, Act 1, Act 2, Act 3, and I'll have a whole progression of how you should level, a level 100 tree without clusters, and then we'll have this tree, as the end all be all. I haven't got the time to do all that yet because I've been a little bit busy. So yeah, we're gonna go here and pick up this mana and health. Pick up this mana and health. We have about 230 life regen right now, and I thought about dumping the 10% max life for the 50, but you don't really gain that much regen on it. So I'm probably just gonna go with the 10%, and we'll just go from there. This is the tree that I'm more or less happy with, though I have considered picking up some of the recuperation nodes to give us a little bit more regen, but I don't know if I'm going to stick with that idea or not. We originally were going to go Elemental Overload, but I didn't want to sacrifice any more damage for crit. And I realize that Elemental Overload is huge. I get that, but I don't want to have to rely on a Diamond Flask. And I don't really want to have to rely on like RNG. I would rather just have, hey, this is my damage, this is consistent, and I kind of prefer that over Elemental personally. We are taking two 30 dex nodes, Agility and Expertise. Those are non-negotiable. You have to have them. We're picking up Breath of Flames with the plus 20% to fire damage multiplier, minus 30 fire res. Huge, absolutely massive node. You can't get away without it. You have to have it. We have regenerate 2% life while moving on these nodes right here, which one of them gives 5% to all res. That's a super nice one. We're picking up this fire damage cluster here. Exposure gives us an extra 5%. So, I mean, we're going to be really reducing their fire resistance. It's going to be kind of nutty, actually. We're picking up Holy Fire with the recover 2% of life when you ignite a non-ignited enemy. So that's going to be really nice for our regen. We are running Sovereignty with 15% increased mana reservation efficiency of skills. So that gives us a little bit more unreserved mana to work with. So we're not so tight, you know, because our mana regen is not great, and we're running at about 35 per cast. So I feel like mana could be an issue. But with this specific mastery, I think we'll be okay. That was one that I didn't really want to skimp on comparatively to like taking like an extra life or an extra fire mastery. I think this is a better all-around option just to make the build feel super comfortable. We are going to Divine Judgment. We pick up Ellie Mastery, obviously, for a smoother leveling process. We come here. We get some increased non-curse aura from Devotion with max life. Come here, get some Ellie damage, some health, generic damage, and attack speed. I picked this because I really need the dex, and it's a 20 dex node and attack speed, but we don't get any benefit out of the global accuracy. I come down here and get Resolute Technique because we don't really care about critting. We don't care at all. We don't really ever want to crit. We don't care. Tireless. We picked this up mainly for the health and the reduced cost of our skills. Arsonist and Fire Mastery. Both really good nodes. You don't necessarily need this one. And let's go over our cluster jewels. So we came up here, and originally I had a like a small passive here, and we replaced it with Cremator and Smoking Remains. According to the POB, these two gave me the most DPS, but there are some other ones that provide a little bit of utility that might be worth you guys picking up. I would recommend that. Like, we're doing so much damage, more than enough damage to clear, serious or like max serious or anything like that. If you want to switch these out, like, by all means, go right ahead if you feel more comfortable with something else. And then we move on to, oh, by the way, I have 7 decks on each of these passives to help it. And we're still a little bit low on decks, even still with that. So keep that in mind. Dex is going to be very, very, very hard to come by. So just keep that in mind. And then we have Wasting Affliction and Blowback. And this is going to be the same on each of the median nodes that we have. And they provide just a ton of damage, 120,000 a piece. And then we have our Crimson Jewel, 4% damage multiplier, increase fire damage, increase burning damage, and 6 max life. I realize what you're going to say. Those are going to be extremely expensive, especially with the Ignite changes. I think a lot of people feel like Ignite's in a really good place, and I wholeheartedly agree with them. But this is what you're looking for. This is what you're going for. This is what you're trying to strive for. So I'm putting it in the build, and that's it. Obviously, without the cluster jewels, we'll probably pick up some recoup, and we'll probably come down here to get a little bit more defensive stuff, and we'll pick up this damage over time node for sure, and we'll kind of just go from there. So this is the passive tree. You got the skills, you got the items, and I believe that is it. I don't think I have anything else to talk about. This is Burning Arrow. Oh, wait, no, I totally forgot. The Ascendancy, bro. I want to do Elementalist. I really like Witch. Witch is like one of my favorite. My favorite tree is Occultist. I've never done an Elementalist before, and I've always wanted to try. And I was like, well, what's a really good skill that clears? Well, Burning Arrow. Well, is there even a Burning Arrow Elementalist build? I didn't really know, so I was like, fuck it, we'll just make one. So obviously you'll go Shaper of Flames first. I would say Bastion of Elements for your Uber Lab. I would pick up Mastermind of Discord, and then before you finished Act 10, Heart of Destruction for Convergence, which is beautiful for this build. Absolutely beautiful. And yeah, Ellie, Elementalist. I think it's going to be a solid build. I'm really excited about this one. We're still waiting on the gym information to get into POB. Let me check for an update. I don't think there's been an update today. I think my brother probably would have told me no update yet. So as soon as we get that in, I'll put it into the POB. And if we need to do any more reworks, I'll make sure to put it in the comments on the YouTube video. And we'll go from there. I'll keep you guys posted. Unless this thing is like maximum bricked, I'm probably going to be playing this. So I'm going to try to do like a daily upload on how the build's going, how it's performing, how tanky does it feel, how much DPS am I doing, does it feel smooth, how's the mana. So I'll give you guys updates on that. And yeah, that's it. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you did enjoy, please consider liking and subscribing. Yes, my camera moves. It's like a face tracker. I love it. Please like and subscribe. It helps a buttload. And I really appreciate you guys watching. I enjoyed making this one. We got more to come. By the way, Vortex build is updated on my channel. Updated for 3.16, 1 million DPS Vortex with Cold Snap. It's fucking beautiful. Go check it out, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Take care of yourselves.